Hello YouTube, Oliver G here from the Earful Tower podcast. I think by now, hopefully, you know how this is working. You're about to see a walk through Paris, a kind of slow TV look at one of the highlights of the 11th arrondissement. This is the Bastille Markets, aka the Lenoir Markets. That's what you're going to be seeing for this episode. You're going to be hearing my wife and I talking about the 11th arrondissement, talking about things to find, things to do, places to stay, places to eat, that kind of stuff. And the whole season is sponsored by LivTours. That's a company that does private and semi-private tours of Paris and elsewhere in Europe. I asked them for their top recommendation in the 11th arrondissement, and incidentally, they recommend the Place de la Bastille, which is right at one edge of this market you're looking at right now. Here's what they said. Be sure to visit the epic Place de la Bastille. Bastille is the site of the prison where Voltaire, the Marquis de Sade, and many others were held until the storming of the Bastille during the French Revolution. If you find yourself carried away by the death and drama of the French Revolution, then you really can't miss Versailles. The Gilded Palace is only a short distance outside of Paris. We can help you get there, skip the ticket line, and visit the fabulous gardens, the magnificent halls, and the rarely seen king's apartments. That sounds very tempting. I've linked to it in the description below the video, how you can do their tours, not just to Versailles, but all over Paris. Check it out. Thanks to LivTours for sponsoring this season. It wouldn't have happened without them. Now, let's continue on through the 11th district of Paris and these fantastic markets. Enjoy the episode, enjoy the show. Let's do it. It's about to get real, folks. So today, though, we're starting still on one of the sort of outer districts.
Yeah.
You know, for people who have no idea, there's 20 districts of Paris. They're called arrondissements. They go in a counterclockwise
snail loop.
Yeah, from 20 all the way into one. And this 11th is the first time that the district hasn't been bordered by the big ring road that surrounds Paris. That's how you know. We're on the second loop.
We're getting inside now.
Yep. So we're going to walk you through what we did in our 24 hours there. We're going to talk about the vibe there, and we're going to sort of talk about the secrets that we found and the things that we think you should do too.
The people that we found.
Yeah, and we found a lot. But first, we have a musician. We have a house band for this season. His name's Press Maxon.
Gosh, we're lucky.
Ultra talented.
Yeah, I know.
He plays all the instruments too.
So good.
And he said, "What's the deal with the 11th?" He said, "What is it?"
What is it?
I said, "Well, we found a lot of sort of leafy hidden gardens. Hip happening."
Yeah.
He said, "Which do you want me to go with?" I said, "Prez, you do your thing." This is what he came up with. That was a song called Jardin Perdu.
Lost Garden.
The lost or hidden.
Hidden.
Yeah. Or lost.
Sure.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. Otherwise it'd be caché.
Yeah, but you know what else? Like French toast in French is called pain perdu.
I know.
It's not lost bread, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's not hidden bread.
Where's lost?
Where have you been hiding your bread?
Hey, look. Press sent in a message. He said, "As you can hear, I modernized it a bit, trying to give my arrangement a little more mystery," and we definitely heard that. But he also added, and you're going to like this as a piano student.
Oh,
aficionado. Are you still a
Thank
piano
you.
student, or was that just...
Once a piano student, always a piano student.
Well, Prez added, another anecdote I have is that he featured an A-flat minor 11th chord in honor of the 11th arrondissement. Nerdy stuff.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You heard it. The 11th arrondissement. Let's give it a little sort of summary first, with the background knowledge that you and I lived there for a year.
We did.
Rue de
a few years
Fontaine
ago.
au Roi, the King's Fountain.
That's right, number 60.
Yeah. I think the 11th, when we stayed there, I would have said it was young and fun and happening and perfect for where we were in our life.
Yep.
Do you think it's changed as a district and also for you as a visitor this time?
I I can't say that I feel like it's changed as a district, because I really think it has the same sort of personality. But I think we have changed where we are at in our lives. So at that time, we were both kind of struggling. You know, we didn't have much of an income.
It seemed when we were there that we couldn't afford anything.
Exactly.
So we didn't really...
So we mostly... There are a few, like, dare I say, dive bars, because that's rude to these bars, but they're definitely divey.
I think some bars would even agree with you.
Yeah, they're divey. Divey as they come. So we went there a few times, or we just had people around more.
Yeah, that's true.
Or just hung out by the canal, like literally sitting outside and having picnics, which is really nice.
Although most of the canal is in the 10th, so we're forbidden from talking about it until the next episode. But I want to put you on the spot, bring it back to today, and now we've spent 24 hours there.
Yeah.
If there's someone listening who's over the age of 35, would you suggest that they visit the 11th arrondissement?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. But, I mean, would you? Would you not? Tell me your reasoning.
I'd say visit it, but don't spend all your time there.
Yeah.
If you're coming for the hits of Paris, you'll be disappointed. If you're coming for a bit of raw energy and cool restaurants, bars,
it's definitely like a young... It's kind of the Berlin.
I was going to say Berlin.
If Paris was... You know what the funny thing is? I've never been to Berlin.
Oh, shame on you for making that comparison.
But okay, from what I understand, maybe, if Paris is Europe, the 11th is Berlin.
I like that.
Maybe.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I would...
That's how I would say it.
I would go a step further and say
even though I haven't been there.
I'd say Lisbon is the new Berlin of Europe.
Oh my God, you are hip and happening. Listen to you.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Meaning that the 11th is Lisbon.
The 11th is Lisbon.
Yeah. I think Berlin is the 10th. Anyway, what we did in this arrondissement, it was a bit different. We had a babysitter for the whole 24 hours, thanks to
my parents.
Lina's parents.
Yeah.
And that meant we could use the scooter. And the hotel we stayed at was in the very far corner of the district. Now, it's not that big of a district, but it's very long and thin.
Yeah.
And we stayed on one end and did a lot of stuff on the other end, so it seemed
felt
huge.
Massive.
But it's not really that huge.
No.
But if you do the same as us and you stay in the same hotel, you'll find that you're walking a lot if you want to stay in the district. The hotel...
I mean, I can't really recommend staying there. Because
in the hotel?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice enough, and it was fun and gimmicky and like eco-friendly and all that. But the area is like, it's nothing around you, really far from everything, even like the fun, cool bits in the 11th.
Even on Rue de Charonne, where it is, the hotel's called Eden Lodge, and it was appealing because it felt to me that it was a bit like the vibe of the neighborhood.
Yeah,
sort of like eco-friendly, like sustainable.
Yeah, like it represented the area,
and I liked that, but. Like Lina said, it was really nice, but there's no reason to stay there.
No.
Unless you
happen to work next door or something. I don't know. Or visit a friend.
This also, it gave us pause for thought. We said that we're halfway through the season. This, especially this hotel, it seemed good on paper. And it was a fun experience. We hardly spent any time there.
Yeah.
And then we kind of were like... Why do we spend all this money on this place to not even really recommend it? So we might edit this going into the second half of this season, the hotel part of it. But just as I want to make it clear, everything we've done with this, we've been paying for, which is why we don't mind giving an honest review. So a main character of the 11th arrondissement, person-wise, is Guy Griffin.
Yeah.
Guy Griffin, who runs the Café Méricourt, who ran the Café Oberkampf that was around the corner, but it's since closed down. He is a friend of the show.
Yeah, and a friend of ours.
Yeah, like when we lived in the area, we visited his coffee shop a lot. He's always been so supportive of the Earful Tower, and I interviewed him for this episode. Here's a chat that him and I had talking about the district, talking about his cafe, all while we were sitting in the Café Méricourt. Guy, how are you?
Ollie, I'm good.
We go back so far now in Eiffel Tower years.
The walk shows?
Yeah, the walk shows. That was like the first one.
Yeah, it was the first.
Yeah.
It was the first walk show.
That feels like it's crazy. Anyway, there'll be some people listening who watched that, which is crazy to me too. So to you guys, I salute you.
I do have people come in that are saying like, I heard you on the podcast.
Really?
Or yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they do come in and have a bit of a shout out.
Well, it'll probably happen more after this because this episode is going to be big. I want to talk, before anything, let's talk about the 11th arrondissement. And you've been running cafes here for years now. You've seen it change, I can imagine, a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, Café Oberkampf was the first place, and that's not that far off. So I did see the street change, and when I moved in, there was already a bit of activity and like a couple of restaurants that had been here for a while and are quite well known and stuff like that. But no, there's nothing like what's happened now. And I can't say I was there. I was sort of there when there was some sort of like sparkle of the stuff already happening. So a lot of us opened around the same time. But now it's amazing. Like there are just so many boutiques and a diversity of projects. It's pretty crazy.
But why do you think? Because I don't know. Like we're exploring the districts. I haven't seen anything like this yet. So from 11th through to 20, I haven't seen anything like. There's this energy here that I haven't seen elsewhere. Why here?
This is a very weird pocket, like in between Boulevard Richard Lenoir and Avenue Parmentier. So this is like the Oberkampf area, but it's low Oberkampf because when you go higher up, it's a lot of like student bars and kebab shops and stuff like that.
You mean further towards like the 20th minute?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, so that part is more night time, and this is a very like it's really like a neighborhood, like a village. Yeah. Like everyone knows each other. There's hardly any bad blood. Yeah. All the restaurateurs are friends. There's no competition, stuff like that. And there's just like everything here. Like I literally never leave this area. I think we've talked about this before, but there's like I needed to go buy books, and literally like just now 100 meters away there's a great bookstore. I buy all my clothes. I literally buy all my clothes apart from underwear. Just like 100 meters away at Outland, or like not just because they're neighbors and I like helping the community, but also there's just like amazing shops.
You know, everyone and everywhere says that everything is a village in Paris.
Okay. Oh, really?
But there definitely is that vibe here. I remember when we bumped into each other in the 16th or the 8th recently. Remember when you were cycling? You were floundering. You were like, where am I?
So out of my comfort zone.
That wasn't a village around there, to be fair. Like where there's big tourist attractions and stuff. It's not the same.
No, but I can understand the whole village community thing. Like, seeing as there's each time like 6, 7, 8 stories in a building, that creates already like a vertical village where you know all your neighbors and things like that. So you do get that verticality that you have in Paris, where even really tiny pockets feels like a village. But here it's a village in the sense that we have the post office, the church, the bar tabac. Everything is in a 500 meter radius, and so it feels like a village in that you don't have to leave the area. Whereas like places in the west of Paris where you're going to struggle to find a supermarket, or
the 16th arrondissement is very different feeling. But this street that you're on, Rue de Charonne, just walking down here now, as the bar's starting to open and as the restaurants are starting to open, what a vibe this has.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The major axe is Rue Oberkampf, so that's like I would say 300-400 meters away from here. Yeah. And so when we moved in first, we were the furthest away, furthest place away from that street, and so people wouldn't really walk up this way, and we would open in the evenings, and the evenings would be dead because no one would venture this way. Now there's a park. We're like in the middle of Rue Oberkampf and a park, and so there's this aggregation between the two spots. Yeah. And so you just have like people passing. There are lots of schools and creches, so you've got all these families, and just like having so many children creates sort of like an energy as well.
Right.
And in between the two places, like every few hundred meters, every 10 meters, there's a different. There's a really good hairdresser, and I was saying the clothes shop, one of the best florists. Florists?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one of the best florists in Paris. Florists, thank you. Yeah. One of the best florists in Paris, Désiré. And then you got the great soap shop, Le Baigneur, who does all these like cosmetics as well for men, and so you've got all this massive energy, and then you have Fermentation Générale doing like their natural fermented. Was he say fermented? Yeah, bread. Yeah, the most amazing breads.
These are all things to check out. This sounds a bit hipster to me.
It's the limit of hipster in that there are a lot of rolled up jeans and single speed bikes, but it's not. It's not like beard and fixie bikes.
So
do you know? It's
like
it's a bit older than the hipster. Do you know? It's like we've been there, done that. We're not hipsters anymore.
But it is a young vibe here too, compared to a lot like the 7th or the 16th or whatever. The vibe is young.
People are young. So the places are run by young people, but the actual clientele is really mixed. So that's what's really
intriguing.
Is like, so our clientele, whereas Oberkampf was maybe like 90% under 30. Now I have the clients that come in at midday, like regulars that come in 2-3 times a week, who are over 50.
That's funny, because I remember you talking to me on one of the podcasts years ago. I think the title of that podcast was something about hipsters, right?
Yeah.
And you were saying that a lot of older people would pop in and be like, how much is a coffee? Oh no, that's not what I usually pay for a coffee.
Totally
so that's
shifted.
changing in Paris.
Totally. Like like Salvatore here does the most amazing lunch formulas. And so I have clients that come in who they don't snigger anymore, but they're sort of like, oh god, here are tourists eating pancakes at 2 p.m. still with the fruit and stuff like that. Whereas before they would actually snigger and be surprised and maybe a bit condescending as well. Now they would come in for the dish of the day and they just love it, and they love the vibe and they love the energy, and so it's really balanced out. Like I still have that young clientele who are looking for the specialty coffee and stuff like that, who are traveling and. But then, we have families, we have a bit of everything. And so that's where I find that the business owners have been clever, is that they've been able to offer something new without excluding all generations. Whereas it's that's what happened with the hipster movement at the beginning, like all these cool cocktail bars. Yeah. Someone that wasn't part of that movement or that crowd or whatever would feel uncomfortable going into these places. Whereas now, everyone's buying the bread from over there just because it's delicious, not because it's cool. It's because it's delicious.
I know I said we'd be quick, and I'm taking up more of your time, I promise, but I got a hard question that I want you to answer quickly, which makes it hard, and then an easy question that you can answer your chosen land. The hard one to answer quickly is there a risk that the old Paris that everyone loves is disappearing forever with all these new places?
No.
And is that a worry?
No. So if I can just talk in a personal sense, my next business, I want it to be a bistro. And because for 2 reasons. Financial reasons is that the actual business model that has never gone out of fashion and has always been stable is the bistro. Yeah. And
I can see you in a bistro. I can see you wiping down the zinc.
I want a zinc. I want to be like the zinc, the towel on my shoulder.
You deserve a zinc. Get this guy.
I want a zinc. No, so it's just like I want to be able to do that. Do what I'm doing now, but in a more traditional, French traditional sense. Cool. Because the whole international vibe, I think, is sort of it's been done and it's not really renewing itself all that well. We've sort of all been doing the same thing and copying each other.
So the comeback, you'll lead the comeback of the.
No, I don't think so. Other people are doing it, but I don't think. It won't be. It will never be the same. Right. Like you'll never have the rude waiter blowing smoke into your face, like smoking a cigarette, blowing smoke into your face, or the really disgusting croque monsieur. That's going to die out.
Good. Change is good and bad croque monsieur is bad. But anyway, the last question is quite easy that everyone's probably been wondering since we started is, where do you go to get your underwear?
Actually, I change a lot, but because I'm like mono product, and so if I buy something, I'm going to buy like 10 pairs that will last me until they die out, and then I buy it from another. So it's an Australian brand actually. It's called Booty, and it's these organic cotton. So there you go.
I wonder if anyone else out there in listener land was also wondering.
We've had this conversation with some of my clients where we've it's a bit weird.
What about your underwear?
With what's his name?
What's his name?
the book guy.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for all your support of the Earful Tower over the years.
I mean, it's my pleasure. I love what you're doing.
Thanks.
And I was actually, honestly, and this is not. It's actually amazing to see the progression.
For everyone at home, he just did an exponential airplane going up into the air.
Airplane taking off. No, you work really hard for all this, and it's pretty impressive.
Isn't he lovely?
So nice.
Isn't he lovely?
Do you want to sing it?
I was thinking
Yeah, I know.
Cafe Miracle, everybody should check it out. Really, just the
best shakshuka ever.
The creme de la creme of coffee.
Definitely.
As well. I've always ranked that place very highly. Now, I think what we should do is we talk about some of the other things we did before we cut over to a very new and unique segment.
Yes.
With a new voice.
I know, very exciting.
More on that in a second. Let's finish off some of the things we did. I think we can really gloss over these two things. For dinner, we went to a real hip and happening place, the Chambre Noire. The Black Room.
Yes.
There's a few of them around. We learned about this via hipster whispers down by the canal.
I love that hipster whisper.
Yeah. You know how
is that a thing? That sounds like it should rhyme, like a Kanye West or something. Hipster whisper.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think I made it up.
Yeah, maybe.
But it was really busy when we went there. Nice tapas.
It didn't even
wine
have
bar.
one thing. It was very hard to find because it didn't have the name anywhere on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird, huh?
So we just like...
That's how you know.
Yeah, that's how you know.
It wasn't
if
like
you know,
it was,
you know.
It wasn't like a speakeasy
No,
kind of restaurant.
it was very open.
It was wide open. There's
Yeah.
just no name. So we had the address. We're like, is this it? I don't dare go in and ask.
I
Let's just
know.
be cool. I put my shades on to go in. I put a man bun on
Walked
top
into
of my
a
head.
pole.
It was really cool. Cheesy asparagus. I can recommend if you go there too. We're talking about the one on Rue Saint-Maur, which is incidentally, if you want to go out and experience, I don't mean nightlife like nightclubs, but
No,
the
but
night vibe of the 11th.
it's like a wine bar, lots of
But I
natural
just mean
wine.
the street as well.
Oh, yeah,
Rue
I
Saint-Maur.
see.
There's restaurants and bars all the way for a really long walk.
Yeah.
You should definitely go there. Then we thought we'd do something very different, and we went to a speakeasy, Mobster Bar. We'd heard about this from Forrest Collins again.
Again, she's such a hero.
And this was funny.
Yeah.
It was funny to get in. We won't reveal the sort of trick, but there's a telephone out the front. Like this, we're talking 1920s
20.
Prohibition era setup. And there's an old phone out the front that Lena picked up. And I was just watching, and Lena just started laughing. And it's because they were giving a clue. And
They were talking. It was like very serious voice talking to me in the telephone and just giving me instructions and like clues on what the code might be. So
Yeah.
you have to put in the
And I asked them,
punching
because
the
we
code.
got in there, but then I asked them, because they could see us.
Yeah.
And I said, are there any people that try the code and can't get in? They go, yeah. And they just walk away. I was like, that is not good for
That is
business.
terrible business idea.
But it was cool. I mean,
No, it's fun.
it's fun, but the thing...
It was definitely a fun gimmick.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been better done
The
inside.
problem with those gimmicks, though, is
maybe,
that it
but-
lasts 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you're in.
The cocktail was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people sometimes ask us if you can get alcohol-free options. We both had alcohol-free cocktail. I think specifically to answer the question from whoever sent that in. You can almost always get alcohol-free stuff in Paris.
No problem.
So there you go, Mobster Bar. Another really good bar we didn't go to this time, but I want to recommend it because it's excellent, is Le Perchoir.
Oh my god, yes. It's
Rooftop
so good.
views. I've got
When
it
it's
all
a
in the
nice
blog.
evening, oh my gosh.
Top notch.
So good.
Yeah, and we purposely didn't go there this time because we've been there a bunch. And then the other thing I want to talk about that we did, the sort of main event, before we get to this new segment, is we explored the passageways. In French, they're called passage. I don't know if you'd call them passageways in English. It sounds wrong.
Yeah, it does sound a bit wrong.
But I want everyone to imagine that back in time, in the old days
I
of
would say
Paris,
courtyards. But not really.
it's between a courtyard and an alleyway.
Yeah.
And back in the day, this part of Paris was where a lot of workers and artisans would have their sort of
Ateliers,
atelier.
yeah.
So people who'd be mending shoes or making frames or building something or repairing things. These alleyways were full of this kind of activity. And we lived in the other side of the 11th, and I'd always heard about them. I'd seen one or two, but I'd never really gone exploring. And I thought it would make a really good theme for this episode and the perfect place to bring Augusta, the photographer. So we met at one of them and went exploring, specifically going deeper and deeper into them, and it was excellent.
Yeah, so good. And I think it was a really good focus point because it does actually really represent the vibe of this arrondissement. In terms of, it's these old ateliers, they kind of represent, the smaller the startups, the independent shops. It's a lot of that
Even
going
today,
around.
like today,
Even today,
because
yeah.
today a lot of it has become residential, but there's a good mix, a good cocktail of Like we saw a guy making a gilded frame.
Yeah, so there's still a lot of that around. But I meant the whole area, the whole 11th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought you meant in some of those.
Well, that too.
In some of those passageways, there were like people working on brand new laptops. It looks like they were doing startups and stuff like that. But in terms of finding it yourself, you want to start at like the Bastille and then move into the district.
Dig deeper.
And anytime you see a sort of open, like they're open to the public, but you see an open archway, and it might look like it only goes 10 steps in, but sometimes we found you turn a corner and it opens
branch off
like
as
an ant's nest.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? Ant's nest? Anthill.
Anthill?
Yeah. And some of it was just like glorious, like wisteria trees, like.
It felt magical.
So all the addresses, as always, will be on the earfultower.com and in the show notes and on social media. I'm making it extremely accessible. But now it's time for a new segment.
Yes, the new voice.
A new voice on the show. Well, she was on last week's show in the Train Bleu. Oh, speaking of the Train Bleu, guys, a lot of comments about what I was wearing.
Yeah.
Bit weird.
I know.
Let's focus on Paris and the experiences here.
Yeah.
The clothes are unimportant.
It's ridiculous, really.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Should have seen the flip-flops I was wearing. This is a bit of a special segment today, and it's a bit of a different reason. Because we had this event in Café Méricourt, it sucked up a lot of our time.
Yeah, with preparations and all that.
Cleaning up after all the like the wine was spilled on the walls and
raucous.
What we did is Charlotte, who featured in that last episode and who's been doing all the research for us, she actually lives in the 11th, and I said to her, look, we're not going to have time to go to two of the things that we planned. One was the Bastille Markets and the other was the Atelier de Lumière, the magical light show. We've seen it,
so good.
We've seen the previous one with Cézanne and Van Gogh. Was it Cézanne and Van Gogh?
No, it wasn't Cézanne, Van Gogh. Yeah.
And I said, Charlotte, let's try something. Take a microphone along and you tell us. I said, you got a couple minutes, tell us the story. And I think she did a great job.
I think so.
Starting off with her visiting her regular seller, Steve, in the marketplace.
Let's hear it.
Hello! As a longtime resident of the 11th arrondissement, I am happy to be taking you to some of my favorite spots in my neighborhood, the Bastille Market and the Atelier des Lumières. So first up on our 11th exploration is the Bastille Market. This market I've been going to for years and I adore it, so I'm so excited to share it with you. The Marché Bastille is located on Lenoir, which is a really long boulevard and a really wide one as well. So much so that there is a long park that runs through the middle of the road. And on Thursdays and Sundays, this is where the Bastille Market is. And at the market, you can get everything from fruit and veg from near and far, organic, maybe not so organic, cheese, wine, butter, eggs, spices, olives. And I've been going for so many years that I've found particular sellers that I really love. And I was happy to be able to interview one of the vendors. If you were to describe the 11th to someone who has never been, what would you say?
I think it's a very popular arrondissement, yes, and very lot of nationality, yes.
And if you could describe it as a fruit or vegetable, what would it be?
Mango.
Why?
Because it's very sweet.
That's good. That works. Ça marche. Now, this interview was a lot of fun for me to do because the fruit and veggie seller that I spoke to, Steve, he and I have been on first name terms for a while now because about a year ago, I decided to introduce myself and I wanted to be memorable. And so I decided that I'd find some sort of common ground between the two of us so that he could remember who I was. And in fruit and vegetable world, there are Charlotte strawberries, there are Charlotte potatoes. So I was like, okay, great, we're going to use this. And so I pull up I get to the front of the queue. I decide to ask him for his name. I say, "Comment vous appelez-vous? What is your name?" And he says, "Steve." And he says, "Et vous?" And you. And I say, "Charlotte. Je m'appelle Charlotte, comme les pommes de terre." Charlotte, like the potato. So they thought it was strange, then they laughed, and now they remember me. And now every time I go to the stand, they always say, "Salut, Charlotte!" Next up, we're heading to the Atelier des Lumières, which is a very new museum in Paris. It only opened in 2018. And to make you guys feel like you're there with me, I recorded while I was inside. So I'm here at the Atelier de Lumière, and it's been absolutely charming. It's such a kind of industrial space where you have these projections on the wall all around, and also in all of these different nooks and crannies there's sort of a pool of water the images are projected onto, a mirror room where you get a whole different perspective on the artwork, and then also a central room that shows you the art that's actually being projected. And what they do is they kind of transform the paintings, they make sections of them kind of expand and parts of it, move behind, so it really feels like, for example, there were works by Cézanne that were in southern France, and you had these cicadas, the sound of cicadas, and it looks as if the trees themselves are moving. And, because the work is being projected on the walls, you really do sometimes feel that you're a part of the art.
And there you go. Charlotte's segment. If she gets more of them, maybe we'll give it a name. But for now, that was her sharing her arrondissement. Charlotte Pleasance, thanks for that. Lena, I think it's time we share our scores for this district. I'm intrigued to see where you went with this.
I'm intrigued to see where you went, because...
As always, folks, we're just looking at our scores that we've pre-written here. We've got a methodology, 5 scores each, adds up to a score out of 100. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, strollability.
5.
Me too, easy.
Ooh.
Affordability.
7.
6.
Oh,
Close enough.
Yeah. Shareability.
Shareability meaning if you walk around taking pictures, is it easy to get stuff to share with your family at home, on social media, whatever? What did you put?
6.
No, I put 4.
4?
Let's discuss this.
Okay.
What did you think?
I guess I was very swept up with the passageways.
The passageways.
Yeah, they're really nice.
I felt that
very charming.
I felt like the rest of the district compared to some of those. I know that we're coming to some simply astonishingly beautiful. Like, I think of the Marché, one of my favorite neighborhoods. It feels like every street, you just point your camera in any direction.
And it's
shareable.
Great. Yeah.
This district, it definitely wasn't. There were a lot of long avenues. There were a lot of cars, I felt.
A lot of cars.
Yeah, but I mean, we average it as a 5. Touristability.
5.
I did 3.
Ooh.
Ooh,
okay, you're going radical here.
I went back and I looked at the map to see also what tourist things pop up.
Yeah.
Besides the Atelier de Lumière.
Nothing.
De Lumière, I guess it's pronounced.
Lumière.
What, I didn't really... I feel like it's good for a new tourist. Like someone who's looking for the new Paris that...
Maybe to discover if you're like a food tourist or that sort of thing.
True.
Yeah.
That's fair. I was harsh.
Yeah, you're a bit harsh.
But it stays. It's written in stone.
I'm being very Swedish.
What
I just put 5,
What about for accessibility?
Ooh, I went a bit crazy here. 6.
Me too.
Yeah.
That means we agree on it. Very accessible. It does seem very big, but it's just wide. And let's face it, most tourists aren't spending 24 hours in a district.
No, exactly. Yeah. I mean, what we're doing is a bit crazy. So, and I was also thinking that we're inside Paris. We're not touching on the ring road. So everything is getting easier and easier.
Agreed. What was your total score?
29.
And I had 24, which takes us to 53.
Yeah, it's a pass.
But now we have a leaderboard, and we're going to start using that because it's going to start getting exciting.
We have
with
the
next.
top 10.
Top 10.
Top 10.
And we're going to be going, I know the scores are going to start getting higher. 53 might seem like a pretty low score, but it's a pass.
It's a
pass.
It's a pass.
So that'll do for the 11th arrondissement. If you're looking for a little bit more information, a little bit more from the rest of what we've seen, theearfultower.com. Let's end this with a little bit more of that outro music from Press Magazine.
Yes, please.